Let's start by doing the roll call. So it looks like Mia is here, Jill is here, Rosia, and Jim, Victoria, Candace, Cree, Vexing Media, and
Billy and Dawn. I'm Kiowa.
Okay. And it looks like we have some folks with Cherokee.
Yo.
Hello. So Ryan and Sean, and Talitha and Talia. Is there anyone I missed? All right. So let's talk about reporting deadlines. Does someone, maybe Jill, want to talk about reporting deadlines?
Hi. Yeah, so the next OPR report will be due in, I believe, when was it due last? July, August for you guys, or was it July, end of July?
End of July.
End of July.
Okay. So,
But you also have an ADR that's due.
in September 30th, the ADR is due. And then your next OPR is due 6 months after, July 1st? Should be what, January 30th? The next OPR?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all I had for reporting deadlines, was just the upcoming ADR for September 30th.
They also have an annual financial report, I think, that's due September 30. And you'll need to file that if you need to do a carryover budget request or a, yeah, if you need to do a carryover.
Oh, that's right.
All right, great. And does anyone have any questions about that? Oh, and I also saw that Kristen is online. Sorry, I missed you.
Are there any issues or challenges with your reporting? I know we've talked about some of the issues with the forms of the OPR sometime during the one-on-ones a few weeks ago. And I just wanted to see if those issues have been resolved.
I know the ones Kiowa had have been resolved. Well, the authorizing was official. We're just waiting on her to certify.
I also wanted to add, like either today or tomorrow, if you haven't already, you should be receiving the monthly Strengthening Our Circle newsletter that the specialists usually sends out, and it has the table with the upcoming reports and the link to reporting requirements page.
existing or whatever that was of that
All right. Thank you for
IPv6.
those updates.
Oh.
So
Wait, excuse me, Don has a question.
Mia, how much time are you going to give us to turn in this carryover request?
we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. You're kind of far from it. Either maybe someone else can ask your question for you. You can get a bit
Because
closer.
we just got our final 425 from Sandy today, and we got a good idea what our balances are. And y'all just mentioned that we can make our carryover request for the final year. That's what we want to do. How much time you can give us?
Don's asking how much time. Can you hear? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay.
I don't have a deadline at this point in time. I think I heard him mention he wants a carryover budget. That's one of the items on the agenda. So, but it's essentially, I'll answer your question now. You have until September 30 to file your financial report. You can do it sooner. As soon as you have filed your SF-425, as long as it reconciles, then we'll know what the unobligated balance is, and then you can request a carryover. And obviously, the sooner the better, so that you can have as much time as possible in the current budget period to utilize that funding. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
That answers.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now talking a little bit about the virtual abbreviated semi-annual meeting, and that's going to be September 15th through the 17th. It looks like the registration is already open. Just someone, everyone should register. Please share that very widely with all of your partners and other folks that you know working in language, because this is really geared to all native language community folks, not just NLCC.
Yeah. And also to let you guys know, it's actually the 15th through the 18th. I forgot to update that last little bit there. So the registration is, as Brent says, is now ongoing. We do have 51 people registered as of a few minutes ago, just before we started. 30 of them are either current ANA language grantees, former ANA language grantees, or are applying to be a language grantee. So there's more than 50% of the current registrants are in those categories. So looks like I'm receiving a registration one every 5 to 10 minutes. So I think we'll probably hit the 100 mark before too long. So
Is it only 100 lines?
No, we have more than that. I'm just letting you know we'll probably hit that number, and then we'll go on more until we see how many we get for next week.
Can you tell me if there is a limit? Because the commissioner wanted to send it to our federal partners, and I told her maybe not at this time. We want to just make sure the ANA staff
we have a limit of 500.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Maria, I have a question about those.
Sure.
We have some of our partners that are really interested in the topics, but it's during the school day. So will those sessions be recorded and can be viewed by our partners at a later date?
Yes, all the sessions will be recorded and closed captioned, and they will be loaded onto the public side of the NLCC website. So they can.
Okay. Would you still like those people to register, or?
Only if they want to put in there under other that there won't be a time, but they would like to know when when it will come out, or because we will have it in the newsletter, and you can share the newsletter with them if you'd like. So, or if they want to sign up for the newsletter, they can receive it, and they'll know when it'll be up and running. So, okay. Creed, did you want to say anything about your presentations?
No, just mainly due to the size. It won't be as interactive as the previous one. This is going to be more like a webinar series, but I do have some opportunities for some engagement, but no, other than if anybody has any questions about it.
Okay. And I've put the registration link back in the chat box if you guys want to share it with people. So. Okay, I guess I don't have anything else. If anybody has any questions for Cree, that's pretty much it.
Hi, this is Brent. I was actually wondering if it would be like possible to create a Facebook invite or something for it that then links to the registration website.
Would ANA be able to do that? Create like an event? I'm just wondering where we would, well, I could probably do that. I have like a work Facebook that I could probably create an event. But however you guys want to do that, I'm not sure if there's a protocol.
ANA does have a Facebook page. So we'll think about adding it to it, because now that you said it's 500 lines, I feel a little bit better about now sharing it with our federal language partners at the Department of Interior, BIE, and Department of Ed, Office of Indian Education, since we have an MOU with them.
Yeah, I think with 500 folks, that's a much larger group. And I just know that Indian Country is really on Facebook a lot. So even whenever like Heather and I presented a webinar, we kind of like, I think she created her own Facebook event or something to kind of share. So I thought that might be a good way to spread it in like an easier form or fashion. So we'll think about that. And then we can probably move on to the debrief around the semi-annual event that happened online just a couple of weeks ago. What were folks' thoughts?
I mean, I think it went really well. I'm interested in hearing from our cohort what some of their takeaways were, what the highlight was, what they think could be done better. I think that would be helpful for us for future planning.
Well, since it's the first time that I have ever been involved in one of the semi-annual, and considering now it's the pandemic, during the pandemic, I think it went real well. I enjoyed it. I know the staff that participated, we enjoyed the word art. And some of the exercises that we did, and of course the inspiration moments. So, and for this being our first time, then everyone here agreed, I guess, that it was well put together, and it was informational to us. It's new staff, the majority new staff. So we enjoyed it. Since I still like the face-to-face. I mean, I always like the face-to-face, but this was good.
Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any things they really liked or anything that maybe we could improve upon?
I would just like to make a comment. You know, this pandemic really put everybody behind and made it very difficult for the final year. And with the Kiowas, with everybody being new, as we all come in about January of this year, FY20, we got a year and a half and really get some experience in there. This visual learning that we're going online is very difficult to move from person to person and trying to develop a language program. And the reason why I'm saying that is that our mentors are people that are in their 80s, and it's very difficult to get them to get online with those young people. And hopefully in the future, whenever there's more language programs, that maybe the programs will be taught both ways. Because we don't know when this is going to end. And right now, we got 2 more employees that hit with the bars here. They tested positive. So we're having a very difficult time in Kiowa country. And it's extremely difficult for us to get IT. We don't have any IT people here. We're kind of learning by ourselves in there. And it's just a hard year. It's going to be very difficult this year, but we're going to make it. But I wish we were doing person to person. I like it like everybody else in there. I know our elders like it. Or some that just refuse to get online. That's just the way it is. And we don't have it out here in Oklahoma like on the reservations. They don't have it either. Now, you guys up in Washington got it made. But down here, it's not like that. That's just a comment I wanted to make, and maybe y'all can look at something like that in the future.
I really enjoyed the breakout sessions in the breakout rooms. I think I really appreciated like having a heads up with the like the video that Cree had offered before we went into that activity. I think maybe that would help in like with the future planning, you know, of those breakout rooms. That was the first time I had been in a breakout room, but it kind of brought the interactiveness. I don't know if, you know, you said there's a bigger group this next time, so it'd just be something to think about, but definitely having the resources to like, hey, watch this video before you know, because we're going to be doing this activity or something. So it'll kind of get people to maybe watch the videos. But I really like that part. I really liked the videos that was the Ani Nakota. They shared a video, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of brings it together, you know, seeing those parts in the community or this, you know, those times in the classroom that, you know, we talk about, but so maybe even just, you know, having little 5-minute videos, or, you know, I think theirs was maybe 10 or 11 minutes or something, but I mean, it kept my attention, and, you know, and just seeing, you know, the inspiration that they brought with their video. So I really liked those parts.
I don't know if much of my feedback is helpful in this conversation, but there were a couple of things that I wanted to share since our convening. I've been in a conference with about 400 people or so and worked on the back end of the webinar in Zoom, and having gone through our convening and having those 4 days, I felt a lot more confident going into it, and that was helpful. So I've gone through some Zoom trainings and that sort of thing, and watching it and being able to have hands-on experience was a lot more helpful than the hours of Zoom trainings I've been in that I've watched up until now. And so that was really nice. I think that we'll all have that and be more confident moving forward in our cohort planning. And last week, Wade and I hosted a 2-day, 16-hour cultural orientation. And that was a lot easier to plan and be able to work on some discussions and when breaks were important, so just having a hands-on experience of having to and as far as planning moving forward, I know for me anyway, I try not to in session.
Hi, you're unmuted. Sorry, Kristen, I wasn't able to hear.
Eso, eso es lo que me gusta. Me encanta ir de show.
Knowing when to having some dedicated time for breaks, even if it was just 5 or 10 minutes for people to turn off their videos and go and take a break. And that was something I was sure to schedule into our orientation because I felt like I really needed that for myself when we met in our convening, because I didn't want to miss any of the presentations or miss anyone else's inspirational moments or anything like that. But it was nice that our convening, each session looked very different. You were looking at different people, you were hearing from different people. So the collaboration was really nice and it broke up the day. Okay.
This is Sean. Of course, I enjoyed spending those days with you guys virtually and seeing you guys, although, you know, it's much more closer. You know, the bonds get closer when we're all together, but even so, I know some people said the same thing, that we still had that strength together virtually, or I know I felt that too. I felt like that bond was still there. And but the things I really liked was you know, not only hearing your guys's, you know, your inspirational moments. It's funny, I was thinking about all the inspirational moments that we all did these past years. I wonder if I don't remember the ones that we did the first couple times, but it would be interesting to put them all together at the end and see what we wanted to share and do like a revisit of all those. I don't know, but anyway, I like the hands-on with the group, configuring these survey responses, and it brought me back to when I was doing my doing my doctoral stuff. I knew which part was going to take longer, and so I chose the see, I did my dissertation through qualitative, and I knew that took a little bit more analyzing, so I took the quantitative part of it because I knew it'd be a little bit easier. So I fudged a little bit and did that, and the other people in the group did the qualitative, but yeah, it brought back nightmares almost. That's why I did that. But I really enjoyed it, and it's it was good practice and good stuff for us, for the other ones to, for my group to partake in, because I think these things, even though we've gone virtual, we've had more participation from this end, because, you know, we don't have to take the whole team, and they're getting more interested at a younger age. And I feel like you guys have inspired them at a young age. So that's what I wanted to say.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. If anyone doesn't have any other comments, then maybe we can move on to carryover information. would Jill or Mia like to briefly provide some more information?
Yeah, so we'll be sending out a message on when carryovers will be due. Like Mia said earlier, as long as you submit your annual SF 425 report, and we can determine the unobligated balance along with your incomplete activities from year 4, then we can go ahead and have you start on documents for the carryover request. And you can submit that to your program specialist to look at before you submit it.
And then what if some
I wanted
projects,
to add to
they
that.
have any carryover from previous years?
I believe mine were taken care of during this past NCC application for year 5. Those were incorporated in the NCC application.
But in general, you can carry over funds from any previous budget period if you have also incomplete activities, not just because you have money that you didn't spend from previous budget periods. What I wanted to add to that is because we know in year 4, many of your projects were experienced delays and stop work because of the COVID pandemic. We obviously anticipate all of you needing a COB for from year 4 going into year 5. So that's why we wanted to bring it up now so that you can begin thinking about it. And also if you need to make a budget modification, it can also be a part of the COB request. Is that correct, Jill?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, and like she said, we'll send out some notice about it. And the sooner you can get it to us, the better.
And just a reminder that in the past, some of the COBs have been held up because your financial report, the annual one at the end, didn't reconcile with the payment management system report. So it's very important to talk to your financial or fiscal officer to make sure that the reports reconcile before you submit your carryover budget. Thank you.
And sometimes my understanding is those can take a while, especially because it's not only A&A that we're working with, but also the other financial folks, correct? So
Office of Grants Management.
So that's also one reason why it's a
And
good
the
idea to
payment.
try and work on it sooner rather than later. All right, and then does anyone have any questions about that? And if they don't,
Brent, I just want to add one more thing, that when you are determining the incomplete activities for the carryover, please make sure that you change the status of your activity in your OPR and change it to delayed. That way we can know that that activity is incomplete.
thank you, Jill. And so if no one has any other questions about that, then we can move on to NCEs. Would Mia, Rosie, or Jill like to talk about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, this is Jill. So you can apply for an NCE for 45 days before your project ends. And again, at that time, you're allowed to, if you are requesting an NCE, you can make any budget changes that you need. Because once the NCC has been processed and approved, then we won't be able to do any like budget modifications. So if you need one then, that would be the time to submit the budget modification along with the NCE documents. And you can request an NCE up to a year.
And this is for next, like this is,
Once year 5 is ending, like right before when year 5 is ending.
So it'll be sometime next April, May. And I think when we had our one-on-ones, we brought up this issue with each of you individually on whether or not you might need a year 6 to be able to finish up everything. And if I'm wrong, I think the only one who said they may not, just because they may not have the funding, is Your Rock. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have to still have to check on that, but and talk with you know, our administration, but that would be some issue because I don't know if we have how much the tribe would be able to back us up to pay for staffing, and so.
Okay. And I think one of the reasons we're also bringing it up now is because we're trying to figure out what TA services would be available to the cohort going into that 6th year. Because that's something we have to think about on the A&E end.
I'm getting ready to plan a working planning session with our tribal council. So there's some other things I want to bring up with them. So I'll definitely bring this up and see if that's something that, you know, they can maybe agree to keep some people going to, you know, to keep this 6 year for the project to wrap everything up and to make sure that our participants are we want to have them be at the level we want them to be. So a lot of our staff aren't full-time. A lot of them are, you know, not working 40 hours. So it'll be some budgeting and stuff, but they're really in support of Yurok language. So I'm hoping they'll support us in this during this time.
and Mia, is the question also like if folks are anticipating like a whole full year NCE? Is that what we're trying to find out now?
I mean, it may be a little premature to ask them right now what are their thoughts. We just wanted to put this out on the table, let them know what's possible. Like Jill said, they can request 1 month, they can request up to 12 months of additional time in which to complete the project. So yes, at some point we'll want to know what those NCEs might look like. But again, it wouldn't be until next spring.
But we also, I think we just remembered, want to be mindful of the impact visits that happen for projects nearing the end and their schedule.
That's correct. I don't know if we've ever brought that subject up here. Have we? Yes. Impact visits. Maybe Brent, that's something you might want to talk about right now.
Sure, yeah. Typically, my division, we visit around 80% of ending grants, to at least for the day, to go through some specific questions that we all ask all grantees at the end to learn from them and to really share your story and to capture it. And then also more qualitative, like interviewing community members to see the impact of the project. And so I'm sure that you've heard it referenced on the ANA grantee meeting calls, because every year, you know, we talk about that. And I know that some of you probably have gone through them yourself, as many of you have been funded as projects before. But, you know, this year, things are, you know, either looking very different or we haven't been doing visits right now. If there wasn't COVID, we would probably be traveling to visit some places, but we're just not doing that now. And also many of the grants aren't necessarily ending. A lot of them I think are getting no cost extensions and things like that. But we typically visit sometime between May and October of the grants. And so I think, yeah, like thinking about if we end up, you know, if people like UROC ends, then we would probably try and come visit you sometime next summer.
But if they're getting a no cost extension up to a year, then you would delay that visit until the following, closer to the end of the actual project.
Yeah, typically if it's a 1 year NCE, then we would go the following year. But if it's maybe a 6-month NCE, then, or even 9 months, we might visit them in that summer, since, you know, like getting to Alaska in February, you know, or March is not really possible. Or, you know, a lot of various states with very cold weather and things like that.
Right. So that reminds me, I think Procio mentioned earlier today, you will be receiving a Strengthening Our Circle newsletter today from your program specialist. The very first paragraph of that has a survey link, and which we're asking grantees what innovative ways have they come up with in order to respond, be able to continue their work. But we're also asking a question about travel related to the impact visits and whether or not folks would feel comfortable receiving a visit. So there's only like 5 or 6 questions, and we're really interested in all of our grantees' responses. So if you could take a few minutes and respond to that survey, we would appreciate it.
Thank you. If no one else has any questions about NCEs, then we can just move on to the general question and answer. If anyone has any lingering questions before we wrap up.
Do you mind if I kind of go back a little bit and speak on one of the topics in the abbreviated meeting? So one of the topics called protecting your language resources, the first part of that is going to be like a presentation, but we're also going to be soliciting tribal input. So I guess I just wanted to, now that I'm thinking about it, at least prime you guys for thinking about this topic. So within this topic, there's 2 kind of separate issues. One is kind of like looking at protecting your material that you create, but then there's also a touch on like intellectual property of language itself. And this isn't going to be like, this isn't any kind of like legal advice or anything, but just kind of looking at it and thinking about it. And that's the intellectual property of language itself is kind of what we're wanting to get grantee input on. So for example, I'm sure you've all heard about that Aloha Poke restaurant in Chicago that had trademarked that title of the restaurant, Aloha Poke, and they were trying to like send cease and desist letters to actual Hawaiians for using the word aloha. And so those types of instances. Another example might be, my own language. We have recordings in universities that we have to pay for, or that they own those recordings of our language. So there's kind of two separate issues tied into this area. And so I'm sure that you guys know right off of the bat, just hearing about it, that it's very very tricky subject to address. There's really no laws that are in place. There's the NAGPRA, there's the American Indian Arts and Crafts, those types of things. But there's nothing in place for languages. And so part of this presentation is also going to be providing feedback from you guys, or for whoever wants to say anything. So basically, things to consider are, what are your concerns for language in regards to intellectual property for your language? And do you have any experiences with maybe predatory consulting companies, misappropriations regarding to your language from other companies? Or what would you like to see in regard to protection of your language in your community? And just to kind of get your guys' input, again, there's like multiple, there's legal layers, there's cultural layers, there's political layers that kind of go into this. But we want to really hear what you all have to say. So just to kind of get you guys aware for that, if you guys want to think on that ahead of time, those are some things to think about before that protecting your language resources session, is to come in with some, if you want to provide feedback. Those are some things to think about. Yeah. So this would be a good time. So actually the very beginning, the presentation itself is going to be very short. We're going to really focus heavily on more what the A&E grantees have to say about it. So just a heads up to be ready for that discussion.
Thank you, Cree. I saw that Wade had a comment about that being a difficult issue and needing guidance on that. Does anyone have any other questions? And then Mia also asked if there were any subjects or topics that we should discuss in upcoming cohort calls.
So let me just expand upon that. We want to make these cohort calls meaningful to you. So if there are opportunities to learn and engage and network and share with one another. So if there are some topics that you'd like us to bring up at future cohort calls, just please let us know so that we can plan and accordingly and prepare for those meetings, and that it's meaningful and engaging for you guys. And not just something I have to have this meeting just because I'm the member of the cohort.
All right. Well, maybe folks can email us or if there are things that should be more delved into that you think would be beneficial for the full group, just let one of us know.
I think just kind of bouncing off that question, I think it just a little idea. We're all trying to incorporate different virtual ways of, being able to keep our programs or projects going. Maybe just getting a little bit of, what different programs are. I know we've been trained, ANA Sister Sky has provided trainings on distance learning, and but maybe just like what actually works and what hasn't been working, and maybe people can have ideas to help incorporate, help them with what their online distance learning or virtual meetings, and also just bringing up things like, I know the pandemic, there's a lot of negative things that like that have happened to us in the pandemic, but I know there's a lot of positive things too. So maybe just kind of bringing up those positive things that have happened to us during the pandemic. And I know we can get like gloom and loom with the negativity, but just bringing them some positive things also. Each way.
So Victoria, are you talking like what Kristen shared earlier, how the convening prepared her for that thing that her and Wade did? Those type of things?
Yeah, those type of things. And I know we had a follow-up email. I mean, that was a great idea, how to set up your own virtual meetings. We kind of talked about different ideas, and to work with you guys, maybe on a coaching call or something. But yeah, just bringing up those little are helpful techniques.
But it also sounds like, Victoria, maybe some additional information, training, workshop on like virtual language learning and like community language learning, things like that. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, just like I went over some of the ANA NLC resources we have on videos, like trainings, and just reviewing those. Like today, I'm going to incorporate some of those in a language class that I'm going to be putting on to the education leadership team. So, and those all were helpful. So I call them, it's my pilot program to see how, teaching over Zoom or teaching, but incorporating some of the techniques that we did with like the bingo and the Jeopardy, kind of trialing those out in our virtual way instead of, we usually do them in person. But yeah, so all those are helpful.
Well, I think that's two of the workshops that are going to happen next week is the innovative strategies and tools that language programs can use in a virtual environment. And I agree. I think we should try to be a voice of positivity. And I know one of the benefits of the distance learning opportunities for native language is that your audience doesn't have to be within, driving distance of your program. Because it's virtual, you can have greater participation, in fact, than just those in the local neighborhood and community. So I think that's definitely something we want to emphasize and broaden people's vision for how they can reach potential participants in their programs.
Well, thank you, Mia. Well, if no one has anything else to add, then I think that we can probably wrap up the call and we can see everyone next week. All right. Well, have a good day, everyone.
Thanks you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.